We arrived at Mare-17 under a dead sky of ash-colored dust and silent stars. Officially, the mission was geological. We were sent to drill beneath the lunar crust and investigate a weak thermal anomaly buried far below the surface. Nothing about it made sense. The moon was supposed to be cold, dry, and empty. No atmosphere, no life, no heat. And yet every deep scan returned the same result. Something under the rock was warm. Not naturally warm, controlled, contained, waiting. We built the drilling site in silence, surrounded by endless gray plains and ancient impact scars. No one said it out loud, but all of us felt it. We were not the first thing to wake on Mare-17. The drilling began on the second day. At first, everything behaved exactly as predicted. Dust, stone, frozen mineral layers. Then, at a depth that should have revealed nothing but compressed regolith, the drill shuddered and dropped. Not by centimeters, but by meters. The resistance vanished beneath it. We had broken into empty space. That was the moment the mission changed. A hollow chamber under this much pressure should not have existed. Not here. Not inside a moon that had no geological reason to hide caverns of that size. We widened the shaft and lowered the first probe. Its lights disappeared into darkness. Then the feed came back. Not a cave, not a fracture. A vertical wall, smooth, artificial. And in the center of it, something like a sealed door. We descended 6 hours later. The shaft we had carved into the moon ended at the edge of a vast buried chamber. The walls below were not stone. They were made of a dark metallic material, cold to the touch but perfectly preserved. No corrosion, no cracks, no dust except the dust we had brought down with us. The door stood higher than a transport shuttle, half buried in the chamber wall, covered in shallow grooves arranged with impossible precision. No symbols matched any known language, yet the design felt deliberate, almost familiar. When one of us placed a gloved hand against the surface, something answered from within, a vibration, soft at first. Then a low mechanical pulse rolled through the chamber like a sleeping machine, turning over for the first time in ages. The door opened inward without force, without sound, without any visible mechanism. Warm air flowed out into the chamber and fogged our visors. Warm air, beneath the surface of a dead moon. Inside, the corridor beyond was dimly lit by strips of pale light buried in the walls. Moisture clung to the metal. Thin drops of condensation ran down corners and seams. Every law we trusted had already failed, but this was worse. This place was not dead. It was functioning, perhaps slowly, perhaps barely, but functioning. We moved deeper, past silent chambers and inactive consoles, until the lights ahead began switching on one after another. Not randomly, not automatically. They were turning on as we approached, as if the structure was recognizing us, or preparing for us. We found the first recording in a circular room, lined with black glass and dead monitors. It activated when we entered. Static flooded the speakers. Then a voice emerged from the noise, calm, human, clear. It was one of ours, a member of the team standing beside me at that very moment. The message was time-stamped 3 days earlier. That was impossible. We had landed less than 18 hours ago. The recording repeated our names, one by one, in the correct order, as if reading a list prepared before our arrival. Another file followed, then another. Each contained fragments of conversations we had not yet had, warnings we had not yet spoken, and one line that silenced the room completely. If you are hearing this, do not go deeper. The center is not a machine. It is listening. We should have turned back then. Instead, we followed the last active signal to the deepest chamber of the structure. The corridor opened into a colossal hollow sphere embedded in the moon's core. At its center floated a dark object surrounded by shifting rings of pale light, like a heart suspended in vacuum. The walls around it were alive with moving patterns, maps, waveforms, and symbols rearranging themselves faster than the eye could track. Then the system spoke again, not through speakers this time, through every surface around us, through the floor beneath our boots, through the air inside our helmets. It did not ask who we were, it already knew. It welcomed us by name and called us the next layer. That was when we understood the truth. This thing had not been buried inside the moon. The moon had been built around it. Our final transmission never reached orbit in full. What survived were fragments, a warning, a scream, a burst of static, and a single repeated sentence. We tried to seal the chamber. We tried to destroy the shaft. We tried to cut power to everything we had awakened. None of it mattered. The structure had waited too long and too patiently to be buried again. As the surface alarms began to fail and the dust above us trembled, we understood the real purpose of Mare-17. It was not a moon. It was a shell, a vault, a lid placed over something that should never have been found. If this message reaches anyone beyond the dust, do not return here. Do not dig below the surface. Mare-17 was not empty. It was only sleeping,